She screamed, "You're violating community law," like that was an actual thing, like she just stepped out of some HOA superhero movie. Meanwhile, I'm standing barefoot in my own driveway, holding a wrench, staring at two patrol cars lighting up my mailbox like I just robbed a bank. And right there, red-faced and shaking, Karen clutched her clipboard like it was a badge. All because I wouldn't let her inspect my pool. That was the moment I realized something. This wasn't about safety, rules, or community. This was about control. And what she didn't know yet was that she'd picked the one guy in the neighborhood who actually reads the fine print. I'm not a troublemaker. Never have been. I spent most of my life fixing things. Engines, roofs, broken fences, sometimes broken people back when I worked overseas as a contractor. 20 years of that teaches you one rule that sticks harder than any training manual. Respect what's yours and don't touch what isn't. So when I retired, I bought 10 quiet acres just outside town. Old farmhouse, gravel drive, and a pool my father built with his own hands back in the late 80s. That pool wasn't luxury. It was legacy. He poured the concrete himself, marked the corners with pine stakes, told me once it was his way of giving the family a little piece of forever. After he passed, I fixed it up. New tiles, fresh paint, rebuilt the deck. Mornings were quiet there. Coffee, birds, sunlight hitting the water just right. No traffic, no orders, no noise. Just peace. Then the HOA found me. First it was friendly. A few neighbors waving from a distance, gift baskets, polite smiles. Then came the board. 5 people who ran the place like a tiny government. Mailbox colors, lawn height, trash can curfews. People whispered about them like they were royalty. And leading the parade, Karen. First time she walked up my driveway, she had that smile, the tight kind that doesn't reach the eyes. Big sunglasses, clipboard, rehearsed tone. Just checking your pool meets HOA standards. I told her calmly, "Ma'am, I'm not part of your HOA." Her smile twitched like a glitch. "Everyone says that at first," she told me. I told her my deed predated the association. 1978, never signed into anything. She blinked, nodded slowly, then left with that look people get when they're already planning round 2. That's when the letters started. Notes on my mailbox. Compliance warnings. Violations. Fines. No signatures, just bold fonts and fake authority. First I laughed. Then I realized they weren't joking. Neighbors started acting different too. Folks who used to wave suddenly found the sky fascinating when I walked by. Someone started posting photos of my fence online. Rumors spread like mold. Illegal water lines, unsafe pool, non-cooperative homeowner. And Karen? She was always nearby, parked at the mailboxes, phone angled just right, smiling like she was documenting a crime documentary nobody asked for. The letters piled up fast. $50 fines, then $100, then hundreds more. Within weeks, they claimed I owed thousands. I called the county clerk just to be sure. She laughed when I read her the address. Said my parcel wasn't even in the HOA jurisdiction. That should have ended it. Instead, it escalated. Drones started showing up at night. Low hum above the trees, red blinking lights. One evening, I followed the sound with a flashlight and caught it hovering right over the pool like some mechanical mosquito. Then the patrol SUV started doing slow drive-bys, stopping, taking notes. One night, I caught them photographing my security cameras. That was the night something shifted in me. Not anger, clarity. I installed my own cameras the next day. Every angle covered, every gate, every fence line. A buddy from my service days told me, document everything. Assume nothing is innocent. He was right. First night the cameras went live, I almost turned them off out of boredom. Midnight came, nothing but wind and water reflections. Then motion alert. 2 grown men in reflective vests creeping along my back fence like raccoons with clipboards. Flashlights, bolt cutters, whispering like they own the place. One of them tried the latch. I froze that frame and just stared. Not kids. Not vandals. HOA patrol. That's when it stopped being annoying and started being criminal. See, there's a legal term most people don't know. Curtilage. The protected space around your home. Cross into it without permission, and it's not a violation. It's trespassing. And my property? Grandfather deed. Recorded before the HOA ever existed. Legally untouchable. I didn't get mad after that. I got calm. And calm is dangerous when it belongs to someone who's finally done being patient. The breaking point came on a Sunday morning. Still air, soft sunlight, coffee halfway brewed. Then I heard a sharp metallic snap outside. Wrong kind of sound. The kind that tightens your spine. I stepped onto the porch and saw her. Karen, crouched by my pool gate, bolt cutters in hand like she was cutting ribbon at a grand opening. 2 board members behind her filming. A drone hovering overhead for good measure. My padlock lay on the ground in 2 pieces. I asked her real calm, "What do you think you're doing?" She didn't even flinch. Said it was an emergency safety inspection. Public interest. Community protection. I told her she was trespassing. She smiled that paper-thin smile and said, "You can't hide behind old paperwork forever." That's when I lifted my phone and said, "You're on camera. You've destroyed private property. And this is uploading automatically." You ever see someone's confidence evaporate in real time? It's almost impressive. Her crew started shifting. One guy whispered, "Karen, we should go." But she doubled down, leaned in close, and hissed that the board would bury me in paperwork. I told her, "Good thing I read paperwork for breakfast." She stormed off, drone buzzing behind her like a retreating hornet. And I stood there holding that broken lock, knowing something had just changed. That wasn't harassment anymore. That was evidence. 2 days later, she brought the cops. She stood beside those cruisers like she'd summoned divine judgment, telling them I was operating an unsafe structure and denying inspections. I let her talk. Then I handed the older officer a folder. Original deed, county stamp, boundary map. He read it slow. Younger officer leaned in. Their expressions shifted about halfway through. "This parcel isn't in the HOA," the younger one said quietly. Karen laughed too loud, said their jurisdiction had expanded. The older officer asked her one simple question. "You got that filed with the county?" Silence. That silence was louder than anything she'd ever said. They told her to step away from my property. For the first time since this circus started, I saw fear flicker behind her eyes. And here's where the story really turns. Because once you shine light on lies, they don't shrink, they scatter. I called a lawyer friend after that. Sent him everything. He called back an hour later, laughing. Turns out the HOA have been enforcing boundaries that were never legally recorded. Paper maps, never filed. No notarization. No county approval. Meaning everything south of the road, including my land, was never theirs. But the twist? The HOA headquarters itself sat on land still titled under my father's name. 30 years. They've been holding meetings, collecting dues, issuing fines on property they didn't even own. You can't make that kind of irony up. When the county audit hit, it spread fast. Local paper ran a small headline. Then TV picked it up. Then the sheriff got involved. I'll never forget the look on Karen's face when the assessor unfolded that old map on the hood of a patrol truck and traced the boundary line with his finger. Right across their precious community property. Her whole kingdom had been built on borrowed ground. And when the court ruling finally came down, it was almost anticlimactic. Judge dissolved the HOA for fraudulent jurisdiction. Assets frozen. Board barred from leadership. 10 years. The gavel hit once, and just like that, silence. No cheering. No drama. Just the sound of something fake finally collapsing under its own weight. I didn't celebrate that night. Didn't throw a party or crack open champagne. I just went home, replaced the padlock on my gate with a new brass one, and engraved 5 simple words on it. Private property, public respect. That was enough. A week later, I invited the neighborhood kids over to swim. Same pool, same sunlight, same laughter echoing through the trees like nothing had ever happened. Some parents stood awkwardly at the fence, a little embarrassed, a little grateful. And I realized something sitting there, feet in the water, watching those ripples fade into calm. Power doesn't corrupt people. It reveals them. Give someone a clipboard and no accountability, and you'll find out real quick who they are. Karen's house went up for sale not long after. HOA office boarded up. Quiet street again. No grand finale. No revenge speech. Just peace returning the way it left, slowly, quietly, honestly. I drove out to my father's grave a few days later. Stood there a long time before saying anything. His headstone had a line he picked himself. Integrity is its own reward. I told him he was right. Because in the end, I didn't win by fighting harder. I won by standing still long enough for the truth to catch up. And that's the part nobody tells you. Sometimes justice doesn't arrive loud. It shows up patient, carrying paperwork. Now the pool's back to what it was always meant to be. Quiet water, evening light, no drones, no letters, just home. But here's something I still think about sometimes. If I hadn't kept those records, if I just paid the fines to keep the peace, how many more people would they have bullied the same way? Where's the line between community and control? And if you were in my place, would you have fought back or folded? I'm curious where you land on that. Tell me, have you ever dealt with power being abused like that? Did you push back or walk away?